Hey everyone, it's got Toy Guru Neitlich here, and yes, by Toy Guru, that's because I usually make videos about toys and toy collecting and kind of explaining them from behind the scenes, having worked in the toy industry and also being a toy collector. But much like collecting toys, I also love to collect books because I'm an avid reader and I like to collect fancy books. And because of this, I actually often get asked by kind of fellow toy and comic book fans, hey, I love reading comic books, I love collecting action figures, watching sci-fi movies, all that stuff that makes us us. If I wanted to read a book, but I don't want to read something like hugely serious, but kind of reads like a comic, what should I read? Well, that's a huge part of my book collection as well, and that's something that, since I get asked a lot, I thought I would kind of walk you through some cool books that comic book fans would like. And not only that, but taking a page from The Princess Bride, the good parts. I'll also kind of tell you where you could jump in without reading an entire series. All right, so let's start with I guess, the bigwigs of adventure fiction. And I think the one that kicked it really off was Moby Dick. And this is an amazing book. It's probably the most scholarly of all the adventure books, but it's not difficult to read. It reads like a conversation, and it's fun. And if you want the good parts, you jump right to the final three chapters, the last three. Those are the big adventure chase. So there's your kind of cheat sheet if you just want to read kind of the fun, awesome finale. But honestly, you can't go wrong with Moby Dick. And for all the references you get from pop culture, from Star Trek to Bone, it's a book you should brush up on. I mean, come on, you get to read about this. Don't you want to read about that scene? All right, well, that's in the last three chapters. Okay, next up from your, the big wigs is, well, he doesn't have a wig, Sherlock Holmes by Conan Doyle. Now, I happen to have a particular love for Sherlock Holmes, and I've actually dedicated a whole shelf in my library to just Sherlock Holmes. Maybe it's from playing him when I was in seventh grade that kind of just dug into my soul. Heck, I even built 221B out of action figures as a display in my office. All right, if you're going to get into Sherlock Holmes, I honestly recommend the annotated version. You can usually pick this up at a used bookstore, really inexpensive, but it's so worth it because the annotated version not only, well, has annotations that are fascinating for comic book nerds, full of trivia and facts, but all of the illustrations are there, and they're beautiful. And it's great that they're preserved this way because usually you don't get these in the paperbacks. So if you want to just read one story, you can't go wrong with the final problem. That's the awesome Moriarty battle episode. And, whether you're a fan of new Sherlock or any of the old movies or classic, you really can't go wrong. And there's, 4 novels, 56 cases, so jump in. All right, next up, when we're covering adventure novels, the father of sci-fi adventure, Jules Verne. If you've never read Jules Verne, honestly, you're missing out because he's written 135, 137 books, tons and tons of work, and a lot of that was adventure novels that covered the entire world. You're probably familiar with the popular ones, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, From the Earth to the Moon, Journey to the Center of the Earth, The Mysterious Island, all worth reading. If you're going to read one, I would probably go with 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which, by the way, refers to distance, not depth. That's how far they go. But outside of those, The Children of Captain Grant, or also known as The Castaways, absolutely amazing and should be read before you read The Mysterious Island because there's actually a link between the two books, and you should read this one first. So there's no, you don't ruin the Luke, I am your father moment. So besides the fact that it's full of awesome adventure and naval and treks across the unknown, it's just fun. Much like his very first book, which is also very underrated, but sometimes reprinted, and that's 5 Weeks in a Balloon. If you know the movie from the 1960s, it's nothing like that. It's an awesome adventure across Africa, zigzagging at a time when the African continent wasn't fully mapped. There was a lot of blank spots. And this was Jules Verne's kind of answer to those blank spots was, well, what if we sailed a balloon across Africa? So awesome exploration fun. Moving on to one of the most well-known names, Tarzan. You probably can picture this story even if you've never read it because the concept is just so embedded in our pop culture. If you're going to read one, I suggest picking up the Barnes & Noble leatherbound because it's got the first 3. Tarzan of the Apes, The Beasts of Tarzan, and The Return of Tarzan, then The Beasts of Tarzan. That's the third one. And those three do read like a trilogy, and they're pretty tight. After that, The Jewels of Opar is the fifth book, and it's definitely one of the best. We start to then get into some really far out there concepts, Tarzan and the Ant-Man, Tarzan and the Foreign Legion. There's all sorts of stuff, things that you may be familiar with from pop culture, things that may seem kind of weird, but Tarzan winds up basically ditching his wife and child and just living in the jungle and having adventures, and you're kind of left like, oh, okay. So there's some weird stuff. That's why I say kind of stick to the first three if you just want core Tarzan, but if you want to read all 24, they're awesome, and they are a lot of fun. After Tarzan, when you're looking at Burroughs, you got to also talk about the Mars books. So 11 of these, the first 5, again, in a really great Barnes & Noble leatherbound. The first 5 do read kind of more, again, as like the core books. Originally, it was The Princess of Mars was the book title, but it got sort of changed after publication and became John Carter, the movie being an unfortunate victim of this. Really, it does not do the series justice. It's amazing, and it's everything you love about Star Wars and Barbarians and Space Odysseys, because it was before all of that. It was before Star Wars and Battlestar Galactica and Star Trek. So yeah, all that stuff really does come from the John Carter books. So absolutely worth reading. The illustrations on the covers are usually pretty fantastic too. All right, so Burroughs, well, he's known for Tarzan and Carter. He also wrote a lot of one-offs, besides things like the Venus series and Beyond the Farthest Star, which was meant to kick off kind of the next Interstellar series. He did some historical books. I Am a Barbarian, awesome. Outlaw of Torn, awesome middle-age adventure. So highly recommend. Now we're going to move to the the fop shelf, Zorro and the Scarlet Pimpernel. So both of these characters are very reminiscent of someone we know, that being Batman, because he literally just picked up their stories. The Scarlet Pimpernel is 16 books by Baroness Orczy, O-R-C-Z-Y, and the Zorro, while originally published as The Curse of Capistrano in All-Star Weekly, which was actually also the magazine that started Tarzan, there's 56 short stories and 5 novels, and yeah, the parallels between Batman and the Pimpernel books and the Zorro short stories and books is, well, if you haven't had enough of fops who go around at night being a vigilante and saving the innocent, if you're going to attack Zorro, or have Zorro attack for you, I definitely recommend the first book, The Curse of Capistrano. The thing is that the author, Johnson McCulley, kind of sort of forgets all continuity between books, and almost every single one just starts over. Even the fact that I don't want to spoil the ending, but yeah, the first one is really the one to read, Curse of Capistrano, or as it's also known as, The Mask of Zorro. It got retitled, much like other books like The Princess of Mars. And then if you're going to go with Scarlet Pimpernel, kind of same thing. The first book is definitely the best. There's a great series behind it, but you could get away with reading the first one and be very satisfied. Literally cut and paste was what became Batman. Rich fop, bouncing around town as a playboy, but at night, Don Diego, or Sir Percy, becomes a vigilante hero. And yeah, we probably know that concept best as Batman. And obviously Batman picked things up from a lot of different sources. We know that. But yeah, the Scarlet Pimpernel and Zorro were the original superheroes. Absolutely. They were masked men who disguised themselves as fops in the day. All right. Conan the Barbarian. And I'm not talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger here. I'm talking about the Robert E. Howard books. These are magnificent. They really are. The whole thing is worth it. If you were going to read one, the Elephant Tower, fantastic. But the trick with reading Conan is you have to find the original author's material, because it got reprinted a lot. So Robert E. Howard, he only wrote, he passed away very early, and in his 30s. Later on in the 60s, L. Sprangdekamp got the rights, and he republished them, but he heavily edited them and changed them. So I recommend the Complete Chronicles, the leatherbound. You can pick it up for like $30 used on eBay. It's awesome. All right, rounding this out, are our sea adventures. If you've been a fan of this channel for a while, you know I love talking about ocean adventures like the Napoleonic Wars. And Hornblower and Aubrey, the two captains of two different series, they are both fantastic. Which one to read first, or how to get into it? Honestly, Hornblower is absolutely easier. It was written for a younger demographic, and if you've never read Napoleonic warship battles, the Master and Commander series, you probably know from the Russell Crowe movies, they're way more than that. I mean, they are fantastic, and they both read. You almost can't put them down. They have very tight continuity. The Hornblower books, if you were going to go through the whole series, reading them in chronological order, which was not the publishing order, is probably a good way to do it, starting with Midshipman. But if you're going to read one, Beat to Quarters, which was actually the first book, is the one to go with. Likewise, Patrick O'Brian's Aubrey and Martin series, the HMS Surprise, sometimes known as Master and Commander, because that was the name of the first book, although both Post Captain and HMS Surprise, the second and third books, are, if you were going to read one, maybe HMS Surprise. But again, the continuity is tight, and there's plenty of reference material like Sea of Words and Harbors and High Seas for anything you may not understand about the terminology. All right, so that was a tour of my non-comic book reading for comic book nerds. What do you guys think? Did I miss anything huge? I mean, there's so many other books out there, but let me know in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching. Thanks for sharing. It's the best way to support this channel. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks so much.